Well, do you want me to read Merrick's thread?
Yeah, read Merrick's thread.
Okay, so Jeff Merrick making some waves early this afternoon with this thread. OHL GM's meeting has concluded. Some details. Season starts February 4th. Training camps start January 23rd. European and American players arrive January 8th and quarantine. It's going to be a 40-game season. 4 teams from each conference make the playoffs, which is a huge change for the OHL. It's usually 16 out of 20. So basically every team makes a playoff. Now it's going to be really hard to make it. 8 teams total. 1 or 2 exhibition games, January 29th to 31st, then right into the season. There was no talk about what happens with the U.S. teams. That's going to be really complicated because how many are there? 2, 3?
3.
3.
I want to say.
No details about how games and schedule will be determined, but it is believed teams may only play against 4 or 5 other squads. Also, no discussion about the contact issue. Teams may assume that's not going to happen. So some context there. There was a politician in Ontario. Who is it? Lisa McLeod? Who
I wouldn't know. I don't know. Sorry.
Anyway,
man.
she's now the sports minister because she was shuffled around for handling families with autism so poorly. Anyway, she was suggesting that there's not going to be any body checking in the OHL this season, which is utter nonsense and not going to happen. Dismissed. Sorry, this is back to Jeff Merrick. No discussion about fans during the meeting, but that's not a surprise at this point. And finally, OHL season would conclude May 16th. And reminder, the Memorial Cup has already been pushed back and will run June 17th to 27th. That was followed about 2 hours later by Elliot Freeman saying, hearing the AHL is now targeting a February 5th start date. Board of Governors approved today. So we got OHL February 4th. They're going to start. And AHL, not confirmed, but it sounds like it's going to be February 5th. CJ might have nailed it on this show. I think he might have nailed it. It's going to be the beginning of February.
So we keep speculating about the NHL start date, but Gary Bettman already said in early October that they're aiming for January 1st.
Yes, and I always aim for the net when I shoot. I miss.
So I think unless those plans haven't changed, so I'm just going to keep assuming that it's going to be January 1st.
And I think that's a fair thing to do, Jesse. However, if you look at even what's going on, let's put the politics aside for a second, but what's happening with the American election? There's a pretty good chance that and the MLB just saw terrible ratings for their World Series. Terrible. Like
all sports have had terrible ratings.
All sports, terrible. Yeah. But let me throw this at you. Until that election is wrapped up, it's going to suck up all the air in the room, with the exception of football, which just transcends because it happens on the same days every week and blah, 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 blah. And it's a religion. We get it. The thing, and it happens during the day most of the time too. So until this election's wrapped up, you're going to see a lot of disinterest in other things, especially on the American side of things, which the NHL cannot afford. If they're not going to have that many people in the stands in the state, they're going to need some TV revenue, right? It's going to be really important this year. So what I would say is delay until February, because very good chance that whatever side loses this election, they're going to challenge it right up to the Supreme Court, which will take a month and a half or 2 months, which means we don't have a defined person until probably late December or early January. And by the way, in mid to late January, that's when the new president or the incumbent would take second term or first term, depending upon who won. So this, if anybody that thinks that the election will be decided on November 1st, maybe. Unless it's like, if it's a landslide, maybe, but there's going to be a lot of challenges put forward. It's a contentious time, as I don't need to tell you. So I would, if I was the NHL, I'd wait till February as well. Just my 2 cents.
I don't think that's necessarily the case because of the NBA's moves right now to push it even further up. They're trying to get December 22nd, 23rd going.
Amazing.
And that's an American-based league. And I think in Canada, with the Canadian division, you can rely heavily on those numbers being pretty high and bouncing back some of
and that revenue's fixed, right? The Canadian money is fixed. It's the American money you got to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The Rogers deal is the Rogers deal. They're paying what they're paying. It's the American deal that I'd be more concerned about, and the American revenue that I'd be more concerned about. But you know what? We'll see how it goes. And you know what? The NBA, Did they not have? They had pretty good ratings in the playoffs.
No.
Everyone went down
to
except
abandon
like WNBA.
basketball. Yeah, because it did not do well.
It's just not doing well.
No.
It's just out of context for people, right? They're in their rhythm. Okay, so maybe I'm completely wrong. That was just my theory.
And sorry, there is an official statement now from the AHL. American Hockey League president and CEO Scott Housen. I didn't know that. Remember former Blue Jackets GM?
Yeah, I do remember him.
Has announced that the league's board of governors has approved moving the anticipated start of the 2020-2021 season to February 5th, 2021, due to the ongoing COVID-19 public health crisis. So to me, it's still just their target. The AHL continues to work with its member clubs to monitor developments and local guidelines in all 31 league cities. What a nightmare. And that's another league that has a lot of Canada, US to contend with. Further details regarding the season, the American Hockey League season, are still to be determined. In operation since 1936, the AHL, blah, 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 blah.
So I would love, by the way, what Chris and Eric were talking about a couple shows ago, where the AHL teams follow the NHL teams.
They
Would you love like a double feature every time? I'd love to watch AHL hockey in the afternoon and NHL in the evening. That should
amazing. Be permanent.
Oh,
like I would love when both teams were just attached to each other forever and they just play the same games.
And it's a 60-man roster.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Football team.
One in the day, one thing every weekend, every day.
I love it. I love that. Plus, if you have guys that have to report, now that's tough because a lot of cities can't support that. But you have to have, if you've guys that are like on, like if let's say they're traveling together all the time, like the Leafs and Marlies. If a guy gets promoted, everybody knows him, right? That's not awkward anymore. And maybe he fits into the system a little bit better. Maybe it's better for camaraderie. I don't know.
Double-decker planes.
Yeah.
Everybody on one plane.
787s.
Here's the really unfortunate part. What about players' families?
Right? What do you mean?
What about AHL players' families? Like, because,
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Sorry. Okay. So the Canucks farm team follows them around.
They're allowed to have them, by the way. Just throwing that out there.
What?
Families.
Oh, for sure.
Your question.
No. Sorry. The Canucks farm team plays in Utica.
Yes.
Right?
Steve, if you're the member of a hockey family, you're used to moving.
I'm not talking about So this is not. So you're bringing your NHL team with you, your AHL team with you, and all of their families.
You don't travel. No. AHL teams don't take families with them.
Also, the NHL team isn't bringing their family all around all year. Like the Leafs family members aren't traveling with the Leafs all year.
So if you're a member of the Utica Comets and you have a family in Utica,
then you're moving to Vancouver.
Yeah,
that's
with
that's
what these guys make 70 G's.
That's
right?
Pro sports, Steve. That's what it happens. The Marlies live in Toronto. They make 70 G's. It's expensive to live here too.
Not many of them.
Well, what I'm saying, but you know what I'm saying, right? Is that like if you're in a pro sports family and if you watched, remember that show Hockey Wives? Remember how crazy that was? How hard it was on those women?
But the Marlies players know that they're playing in Toronto because they're Toronto Marlies players. The Utica Comets are not anticipating living in Vancouver.
What happens if you get traded? You move your family. Like same deal.
Yeah,
but this is like maybe, we'll arrange that in a month or 2 months or something. Like if this season goes from more February to May, are these players not seeing their families then from February to May?
No, they would move them up. This is permanent. This is more permanent than what it would be. Like, I mean, if you think about the AHL too, how many guys from season to season are consistently with the same AHL team? There's way more movement in that league than there is in the NHL, right?
Listen, I'm just thinking about it the way they're going to think about it.
Well, and I agree with you, but I think that you have to make. If you're a pro athlete, movement's part of the biz and on the personal life scale. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be sympathetic to that, but that's part of the gig. It is part of the gig. And if you're in Utica and you're a Comet and you know that there's not going to be any cross-border playing, start looking for places in Burnaby. Start looking for places in Abbotsford. Because that's where you're going to be.
What about Chilliwack?
Chilliwack's good too. I think that's a little far, but I don't know my BC as well as I should.
Isn't it Chilliwack Bruins? Is that what they're called?
Is that what they're called?
I think so. Boo. Anyway. If they are, I hate them.